Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Public Works Podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman, and today I got a real treat for you. Her name is Sheree Hernandez, and she is a CDLA truck driver plus a mechanic at Moulton Niguel Water District in beautiful California. Sheree, say what's up to everybody.
Hi, everybody. Happy to be here. Thank you, Joseph, for having me.
Sure thing, sure thing. So I also heard you go by Cher. Is it okay if I call you Cher?
Yes, I would love that. Yes,
Okay. All right, Cher.
definitely.
All right, so let's talk about it. You're a CDLA, Class A truck driver. I
Yes.
would had the opportunity to get my Class B, so I kind of know what it feels like to get a CDL and to have it, and whether you should let it lapse or keep it or not if you're not even, driving trucks anymore. So talk us through kind of, what it means to have a CDLA, and then what the day to day is for Share.
So, do you want me to talk about how I actually obtained it and how I got there, or more so what is the upkeep in that?
Yeah, yeah. Tell us from the start why you would even go out and get it, and then how you got it.
So that's kind of what I want to touch on. It was never like a plan for me to end up in wastewater. If you start talking with most people, it's a spot you end up I just landed here. So I during COVID, I was an EMT, and I was destined for the public works industry in some way. It was a dream of mine. I really went after that, and I became an ambulance driver. Long story short was I wanted to become a wildland firefighter, but quickly realized I was getting too old for that. That is a young man's job. And things kind of pivoted once COVID hit. And then just like one night I was driving the ambulance and I start looking out and I see everybody that's working on the freeway, and they're, wearing their safety vests and out in their hard hats and driving all this cool stuff. And I go, man, I wonder how much those guys are getting paid. And that kind of just started, doing tricks in my mind. I started researching how do I get into the utility side of things? Like how would I be able to do Caltrans? How would I be able to do the gas company, water district, etc.? So I started there, got my Class A. I went to a school, paid the $5,000. I don't know what it is nowadays, but I paid the $5,000 to get it. And I ended up passing everything right away. It was like the seat and everything was made for me. I immediately fell in love. I got all of my endorsements with that, hazmat, tankers, doubles and triples. I initially wasn't planning to go over the road like most truck drivers would, but after I got it, it was like I need to find experience. And that was a challenge at first because of my age. And I would say, I don't want to touch too much on that, but it was just hard because I had kind of missed that opportunity in my early 20s. It's something that I probably should have done then. So to everybody out there, definitely, if you're thinking about doing it, get it done, get it out of the way. There's a lot more opportunity ahead. So getting it, you definitely need to stay focused. You need to keep your eye on the prize and know that there's lots of opportunity out there. So in order to keep it, is the thing is like you have to get your experience, right? Nobody's just going to hire you. So I had a tough trouble finding people to give me that chance. And I had a family friend that hired me. He owned a bunch of equipment. And he's like, here, I'll let you start off being a laborer. And from there, I was able to work on the pieces of equipment at the end of the day. He would give me in like an hour or two at the end of the day. And that's how it started there. And then it was like, I still needed that time behind the wheel, the drive time, because people are wanting you to have that, definitely. So he recommended a guy out of Corona, California, and it was Frank Smith Trucking. Say what's up to them, because they were like big part of my journey. So I started hauling aggregate and gravel, and I would go from plant to plant, started off on bottom dumps, and then eventually did that for about 6 months, which that is a hard job. Early hours, long days. And then I went on to transfers. I hauled truck and trailer with that, did that. And I was found on the side of the road by my current supervisor now. He saw me hauling gravel out in the San Juan Capistrano area, and he's like, "Hey, I really need a truck driver." And that's kind of like the rest is history from
Wow.
there. Yeah, so that's how I got the job. So I just recently renewed my 5-year CDL position. So I went through hazmat pre-check with TSA. That was kind of a pain in the butt because I've been married a couple times, so they have to make sure that you are
Yeah.
who you are. So
Yeah.
going through that, but other than that, it's keeping your record clean, keeping your driving record clean. Even when you are not behind the wheel of the truck, you must abide. You are a professional driver, so take those things seriously. So even when I'm in my own personal car, following all the rules as a citizen is very important to keep your record clean, so that when your renewal time comes, then everything is just nice and easy and smooth.
Sure.
So yeah. So yep.
Okay. So many questions. So first one, so you were an EMT and you made the transition into public works or driving. As an EMT,
Crazy.
You don't need a Class B or Class A license, do you?
No, you don't. As far as I didn't get that far in the industry to find out. It was like a lot of the guys that are in it are getting that volunteer work, which I was a part of doing. I was part of Idlewild Fire Company back in 2017, 2018. I spent some time volunteering with them, and it was just more of like a network thing, finding out what do you need to do this. I was at the age, and it was the time in my life to finally follow through with my dreams. Everybody says follow your dreams, right? So I wanted to become a firefighter. I wanted to become a hot shot, and everybody thought I was crazy. So I started on that journey, and then I was actually getting too old for it. I know it sounds crazy, but it's a hard job and it's physically straining. And so then everybody said, well, why don't you just get your EMT? Get your EMT and you become a paramedic. And so just with the EMT, you don't actually need a license to a specific Class A or Class B to drive the ambulance. You do need an ambulance certificate, which is it's basic and very easy. It's much easier to get than the Class A. I shouldn't down it, but I never got farther in that industry in order to become the operator for the bigger trucks. So.
Understood. And then one thing I've noticed in my journey was that a lot of utilities, agencies, cities, they lose their CDL drivers because it's kind of a hot commodity. You know, they'll bring somebody on, they'll help subsidize them getting their CDL, they get their CDL, and then they go to Amazon or they go to UPS or they go drive somewhere else where they don't have to like get out of the truck and operate, but they can drive only and make more money doing that. I would have thought, but you corrected me and said that there wasn't that much demand for somebody with the CDL. So what was it like once you had it and then said, hey, I got this thing that I thought was valuable, but nobody wants to give me hours?
Well, it was interesting because of the time that I had gotten it. It was almost like the greatest advantageous time because during COVID, nobody was on the road. Everybody was kind of scrambling on where were they going to work? How were they going to work? Everybody was I think I kind of was very lucky at the time I decided. It just kind of worked things out that I decided that people were thinking about it, but not everybody was doing it. But I was doing it. You know, it's like, oh, I'm going to go get my Class A because it's the greatest time to do it right now because there's going to be high demand for truckers on the road. Well, when you initially get your truck license, people want you to have experience. And what that experience looks like, if I can go back and redo it, and I talk about this a lot, is I initially paid for it myself out of pocket. I paid the $5,000 up front. But if I can go back, I would have got hired on with a company that paid for it for me, gave me that 18 months to 2 years experience, because that is what everybody is looking for on your application and on your resume. They want you to have about 18 months, 2 years, and you're indebted to that company, but you don't have to pay it back. They're paying it for you. So if I could have gone back, I would have done that anyway, but I kind of took a different route, which is still no regret. There's still great value in that.
Yeah. Okay. There's a blue collar thread throughout most of your, I would say, ambitions. Why is that? Give us kind of the Sheree's background. Was 4-year-old Sheree, like, were you interested in trucks instead of like dolls? Like, what's the affinity towards the blue collar lifestyle?
Well, I kind of grew up a little rough. Thanks, Dad. Um, then Grandpa, I grew up on a farm. And when I talk about like a farm, it wasn't like Wilbur. Okay. It was in, if you're familiar with Riverside County, my grandpa always had some sort of weird farm animal on the property. We had an acre, and then we had a sister gate at some point with my grandparents living right next to us. So we were always digging. If we got in trouble, it was like, you're going to dig me an 18-inch this wide trench, and that's what you're in trouble for. So like we would have to do yard work and things like that. So
Wow.
my dad did concrete business. He owned a concrete business. So that kind of grew up on job sites with going on Saturday mornings with my dad, seeing, the way they all worked. And I ended up having children early on, but I was never afraid of like hard work. And there are pictures of me now that I've found. It's just funny that I have pictures of myself on a hazmat truck. My mom took me somewhere, and I was 4-year-old me is like up on a truck, and I had construction boots on for some reason and a little tank top, but I was like glad to be on the truck. So it all kind of just unfolded. I think that there wasn't, a will or a way. I just kind of kept following what my heart desired and kept saying like, well, that's not for me. I'm going to find out, pivot this way, pivot that way. There was never a strict plan. And I just had so much different experience and different background.
Gotcha. What do you say to those to the women out there who might not have had that kind of background growing up on the farm, or had any type of ambitions for the blue collar side, but they like the industry and they want to be a part of it. They want to find work on the blue collar side of things. What do you say to them to, I would say, start to go down that path, or even find that first couple places of employment to take a chance on them?
Well, I do think it's funny you say that, because I have 3 daughters. So my oldest is 18. And so I'm not just speaking to, of course, like initially my daughters, I speak to them about this all the time. If I would have gone back then and somebody would have given me a chance then who knows where, the sky's the limit now. So don't be afraid to get into it. If you have any slight interest, you'd be surprised on how many women are actually in the industry and how many men and women are willing to give you that shot and give you that chance to capitalize on what you're thinking. You don't really need to have this extensive background of living on a farm or going to the military, although those things are really great. You have to really have a good attitude, I would say, is number one. Be willing to do the things that the guy next to you is doing. I'm a little stubborn. I've had to learn the little bit, asking for help and not saying, I got it, I'll do it, and even though I can do it, I'm just another person. I'm not, it doesn't really matter the fact that I am a woman. It's the fact that I'm willing to do it. So to those women is like, just be open and be willing and be willing to do things that everybody else is doing. Don't expect special treatment, I suppose.
Yeah. Is there ever a sense of, I even when I'm out in the field, sometimes the woman, not necessarily they ask for the easiest role or the easiest position or the simplest process, but sometimes it's given to them because men, we're such gentlemen and we don't want the woman to do anything. Is there ever a sense of like, hey guys, like I get it, like I'm a woman, you guys want to make sure I'm straight and I'll, make sure I'm taken care of, but like I want to be just like everybody else?
Well, actually, I work with the most wonderful gentlemen. I've gotten very blessed by the guys that work by my side. I don't think that they give me special treatment at all. I think they give me the expectation. If I ask, they're always willing to answer my questions, but they're kind of like, all right, here you go, do it now. And I'm like, okay, I really have to try to at least do that. But most of the time they are very helpful and willing. And then there is times, I mean, just example, Friday, we were pulling a pump, a 16-inch line, and a huge piece of pump that's coming out of the ground, and we're rigging it and trying to figure out how it was in a tight spot, how we're going to get it out of it. Well, I had to uncouple the motor from the pump, and I was having a tough time, and I was getting frustrated because I didn't have the strength. And it's like I understood the assignment, what I needed to do. And I finally, I didn't give up, but I said, I can't get this. But you know what he did? He used his wrench against the pump as strength. And I'm like, oh, you're not stronger than me. You just used a different technique than I did.
Yeah.
So, learning and paying attention to those little things, it's like just because you're men and women, it doesn't necessarily mean anything as far as strength goes. It's like changing your technique, adapting and learning, a different way of doing things.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. I mean, a lot of times we think we're, in a bind or debilitated when really it's just a thought process behind something. And
you just got to be willing to look at it in a different way. And sometimes you need that person, whoever it may be, next to you to go, you keep trying. What is Albert Einstein saying is like, you keep trying the same thing over and over. Yeah. It's insanity, right? So, you have somebody else look at it and they go, oh, you can do it like this. And then you're actually able to do it.
Gotcha. You're transitioning to the mechanic side of things. So is this less on the road using your CDL and more so mechanic side of things? Tell us about why the switch and what that looks like.
So I'll kind of explain to you. It's kind of a long story, but I'll try my best.
Let's hear it. We got time.
Okay. So the job took me, I had dump experience, right? As a gravel driver, transfer truck driver. And not a lot of people had that. And it was very hard to find that. So that was something that gave me a leg up having when my supervisor was looking for a truck driver. Most people were scared to drive the truck that they had, and that actually hauls biosolids, which we also call it in the water industry, is sludge truck. It's a sludge truck driver. And it is a 40-foot end frame truck and trailer that sits up on one axle when it goes up in the air. It's pretty sketchy. Not a lot of people are keen to driving it. I was like, I'm not afraid. I just want this job. I'll do anything kind of thing. So, and the round trip that I had was, it was dumped locally, and it's from the plant to the dump. It was about 39 miles, 40 miles round trip. And there's a window of time that you're only allowed to dump the sludge. It's between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. And if I'm lucky, I could get two loads in, but most consistently it was once a day I would take the load, but then I have another 5 or 6 hours to fill my time with. So my first 2 years with the company, I was, truck first, take your load, then you maintain your truck, take care of your truck, whatever your truck needs are. And then from there on, you get to spend time as a mechanic technologist, which is also called a grade 2 mechanic. And I'm spending time with the guys doing the rest of the projects throughout the plant. So that window actually opened up a little bit more because the transition happened and there was a lot of, I'll just try to do my best. And there was a lot of like, who's going to keep the truck, who's going to keep driving the truck, and who owns it and things like that. There was a lot of litigation, I would say, about the truck and its position and if it's worth us continuing to dump it locally. Is it better for us to contract this out and keep the mechanic position fully wide open? So long story short, that did happen. The truck it just went away slowly. And that opened up my day and opportunity to become more of a millwright and mechanic grade 2. So my world in the last 7 months has changed so much, and I've learned so much. I've had a lot of very humbling moments throughout this time, because you think you know so much, and then you just really don't. And every day is a learning curve. So I've missed the truck. I love the truck. I loved my time in the truck. I still hold my Class A. I actually just, like I mentioned, I just did a renewal on it. So I will always keep my Class A just for my own reasoning. It's good to have, and then I will be utilized for the company in many ways. We still have a lot of different types of trucks and equipment that a lot of the guys are getting rid of the restriction, or it's hard to find somebody that doesn't have restrictions on their license too, or that have the endorsements, because it is kind of a pain in the butt to add them to your license. And so I have just worked hard on maintaining those things so that I am more valuable to the company.
Sure.
and to myself, and to myself, because it could be a standby moment, an emergency moment. Who can drive that truck? Who can pull that tanker? Who is, oh, I can, so that's why I've always kept up those parts of my license, and I will continue probably forever and ever.
No, that's smart. Just keeping it updated. What's the average day like for Sheree? Like, pick a random Tuesday and walk us through the time you get to work to the time you leave. Like, what are you doing?
Oh man. So we do a lot of preventative maintenance. That's number one. We do a lot of inventory, ordering things that we need. We are doing a lot of oil changes. I will say that not all of it's as fun and exciting as you might think. It's just simple maintenance on the pumps and the equipment throughout the plant. But I'm also in a class right now. I'm taking a water college class online through work as well, which is also going to make me valuable and going to make me learn. It's an investment for the company, investment for myself. So there's a lot of math behind water, and which is terrifying for me, of course, because I just not my favorite thing, but I've had to learn to grow and lean into that. So face my fears. So I spend a lot of time in all of those areas, except for when something exciting happens. And we all don't like when things break, but for mechanics, it's really fun because we get to learn a lot of things, and we get to use all of the big equipment. Like I was explaining Friday when I was working, we got to pull the crane out, and I got to go pick up the crane, and it's a boom truck crane, and it's really fun. I haven't been able to operate it yet because I am not certified for that, and I'm hoping that at some point that I will be considered for that. But the rigging part of it is really exciting, and pulling the pump and putting a new one in, and it's like we're all working together, and things are hustling and bustling. So as an example, Friday was like, I didn't expect we were going to do that. I was walking around doing like checking tension on belts and doing an oil change and greasing some stuff. And then it was like, oh, I need you to go pick up the crane because this pump broke down. And then, we kind of just pivot a lot, and we go where the needs are necessary and what the plant is needed at the time, whatever that may be.
Sure. And I'm sure the more certifications, types of things that you can add to your toolbox, the more valuable you become to the company, and like you even said, 100%. To yourself. Yeah,
100%.
Gotcha. What would you say is the main skill set that somebody should pick up to be successful at what you currently do?
Well, I've thought about this a lot, and I don't think it's necessarily one thing or the other. There's a lot of guys that have, all the guys in my department come from different backgrounds. We have a Marine, we have one guy that has a Marine background, and then he did some oil rigging. There's another guy that was a plumber, because we have a lot of piping, plumbing, things around. There was a guy that came from the plumbers union. And then you have me that drove transfer trucks, but willing to do anything. And I had a good attitude, and I have a little bit of a fire background. But I think just applying, getting out there, getting your certifications like from the CWEA is very looked at. It's something that we continue working on even while we have the job. So if you're able to get those things done and out of the way before you get into the industry, it's highly looked at in a positive way. Any background with water programs through different community colleges. I know that you've talked about that in other podcasts. It's community college is very helpful and very wonderful. I've taken a few classes myself. They're inexpensive and they're good things to learn there as far as if you are looking to go into the water industry. Reading, what book do I have with me? I'm trying to think. I have a Mechanics Millwright 5th edition. That's a great book to have. And just know the knowledge in there. There's a ton of, I mean, anything that you can think of mechanically, it will touch on that. So what kind of tools you need to have in your toolbox, what kind of tools you'll be using, and how to use them properly. Yeah, so I recommend that book for sure. Anything on rigging for crane reasons, just getting yourself out there. Like I said, just taking a chance, even if you've got 1 or 2 classes or one certification and a couple classes on your belt, go after that. Go look for those jobs and see if there's any positions opening, and just take a chance on applying for it, because you never know where it could get you, because it could all be on, they just liked you during the interview and you had a great attitude and you were able to pay attention to the job descriptions, because that's also really important. Really pay attention to those job descriptions when a job does come up, because do you fit in that category that they're asking for? Are you able to answer those questions, and are you able to tailor yourself for that job description in order to get the job?
Interesting. Little things like that. Yeah. All right. I need a story from Sheree when something went wrong under your watch, what you did to fix it, and then what lessons you learned from it to apply to your future career.
Oh, man. This question came up and I'm like, I can't pick one thing because there's so many. I have made so many mistakes, and I have been humbled so quick and so fast from the very beginning. If I could think back from the very beginning, it's like little things like, oh, I hit my side mirror in my truck, or I took out my step, or I hit a gate, or thankfully nobody has been hurt. Most recently, I'll touch most recently on my most recent one was I was relieving, pump was ragged up and I was relieving pressure on it. And we thought it was going to be really quick, and you're not going to need your PPE and you're going to be just fine. Well, we work in wastewater, right? So you have to be very careful about the things that come out of those things. And I was splashed in the face, long story short. And at the end of the day, what my advice here is, you are in charge. All those trainings that we do, and they talk about your safety, you are number one in charge of your safety. And it's very important that, yes, you go home at the end of the day, but also the rest of your people and your team that you work with, that they are safe and everybody's going home to their families at the end of the day. So the things that I have learned to do to prevent those things is slowing down, and is taking a step back and going, even this person is telling me I don't need my hard hat, or I don't need the gloves, or I don't need whatever, it's going to be quick or whatever, slowing down and thinking about what is best for you and the people around you in order for you guys to all stay safe and go home. And also don't get too caught up on those mistakes, because they can be a confidence killer, and I've been known to be hard on myself about those mistakes I've made, or, man, I shouldn't have done that, or how could I be so this or that? Well, don't get hung up on that. It's going to debilitate you more. Take it as a learning lesson, learn from it, and move forward, because it's only important if you're not making the same mistake over and over again. You're going to make many mistakes. So just understand that you're not perfect. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. And as long as you're not making the same ones over and over again.
Yeah. That concept of slowing down, that's tough for a lot of us. I mean, most municipalities I talk to, they're understaffed, underfunded, they're behind schedule, they're over budget. What are some of the practical things, or maybe some of the tips or tricks that you have in order to slow down? I understand coming from driving, yes, you can slow down by using the brake or getting off the gas. But when you're a mechanic, what does that look like? And saying, okay, let me make sure I got all my tools so I don't have to make a ton of trips, or, make sure I have my PPE. Like, what are some things you can do to slow down?
I think communication, that's very, very important. When somebody says they need something, yeah, sure, I'm going to get it for you, but I'm not going to run to go get it, because that, I'm not going to run to go get it. And then I will also communicate, on Friday, I'll just give my most recent example. It's like we needed a cradle hook and I knew where it was at, and they called me on the phone, hey, can you get this? And I'm in the middle of cleaning up some hardware to go back on the pump. And, I stopped what I was doing. I'm like, I know exactly where that's at. And I wasn't, also not taking advantage of the time, not like taking my time so much that I'm like holding up the job, but I have to literally tell myself, I could have ran to go get this and ran to go to the golf cart and ran to go to them. It's not going to make it any different. And then I was worried about, oh man, I've got to clean this hardware. They asked me to clean this hardware, and I was so focused on cleaning the hardware, but they needed this one thing. I had to tell myself, I'm just going to have to tell them that I didn't finish cleaning the hardware, but I got you the cradle for the crane. Just communicating with that. And what did they say? Sure, no problem. I was totally thinking that they needed me to do this hardware. And it's like, I just had to communicate with them, because you asked me to do this, I was unable to finish the first thing you asked me to do. So communication is 100% important. And then it gave me, room to breathe, that, the whole world wasn't standing and waiting on me.
Right.
Because it's really not, but we tend to get,
sometimes we think it is. Yeah.
We tend to think that everybody is waiting on us, and if it wasn't for us that we did this or we didn't do that, then the whole job's going to fall apart. Well, that's not true. It's really important that we all go home to our families, and that we all stay safe in one piece.
Yeah, you're right. You talked a little bit about how you educate yourself, whether it's community college, whether it's books or classes you take. Anything else you do year to year to kind of upskill? Anything that you do intentionally to make sure that you operate, whether it's next week, next month, next year, more efficient?
100%, I would say my sobriety. It's very important as a Class A driver that you keep your mind and your body clean. At all times, like I said, everything that you're doing outside of work, it matters for your livelihood and that license.
Amen.
So I have taken the oath of staying sober since I got the job with the municipality. I knew how important it was. I just didn't want to take any more chances, and I just thought, hey, I'm just going to stay sober and just avoid all of that, because I knew it was going to become more serious, and I wanted to take my job and my position more, and it's something that I don't have to worry about. I stay clean, and my mind stays clean. It's a daily thing, and then that falls in part with just taking care of yourself. I run a few times a week. I do yoga to stay calm. There's a lot of different, eat well, if you're going to feel it,
sleep.
You are going to feel it, especially being a truck driver or driving any type of equipment, or being a mechanic where you're going to have to crunch down and get down or be in the heat for a long period of time. It is really important that you keep your body healthy and your nutrition good, drinking water. I know I'm drinking Red Bull right now, but, taking care of yourself is very, very important in all aspects.
What are some things, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into that. What are some things that, I've heard that the average life expectancy for over-the-road truck driver is like 62 or 61, something like that.
Is it really?
Yeah. Well, I'll verify, but it's young. It's kind of like astonishing to hear it. And what are some things that a truck driver or somebody who has their Class A, Class B can do to eat cleaner, or just to be more mindful about what they put in their body? Because again, like, their body is their vehicle to provide for their families, for their lives. How can they take care of their body as good as they take care of the piece of equipment that they're driving?
Yeah, That's a good question. So I don't have to deal with that as much anymore, but I was definitely, I'm lucky enough to we have like a refrigerator and like, microwave and things, at my place now. But when I was on the road, I would, every Sunday I got my meal preps out and I made that, or I'd have a plan. I'd have a plan of like, okay, well, I don't have that. I'm going to do hard-boiled eggs this week, and I'll take some apples and have your little cooler, have your little meal prepping yourself, all that stuff that you see, especially on social media now. It's like, oh, meal prepping is the way to go. It really is for a truck driver. Sometimes we just don't have time. We don't have time. And then that's how we get caught up in those truck stops or that greasy food. Or I mean, there was times, I'm not going to say that every day that I meal prepped, there was definitely some times that I ran into hard times where I didn't get sleep the night before and I did a turnaround and had to be back on the road. And I'm like eating out of a gas station that day. But even at the gas station, you can make good choices. Yeah. So I would say that, the Core Power protein milks, I drink a lot of those, a lot of beef jerky, a lot of, if you're going to have, something carbohydrates, I would definitely lean more towards like almonds or, making those choices. Those little things can really help. And then moving, because we do get breaks. We do have things that we can do. I know that we can do pull-ups on the side of some of our vehicles, or we can do push-ups. Okay. Yeah. I did for a long time, I would do push-ups every morning, and I did 50 to 100. So I would do that to stay, and I still do push-ups. I should be a little bit better about that now, but I'm not as crazy as I was then. But yeah, just keeping those little moments, take those opportunities to take care of yourself. That's the best way I could say it. And prepping and planning. I'm all about planning and routine.
Yeah, even for me, outside of a truck or that kind of strenuous, rigorous schedule, like prepping for me and my family, like it's huge. Like if we don't prep, we're going to be eating out every night, and you know how that looks. You know what that probably tastes pretty good, but again, like is it really good for you long term? So I'd echo that preparation. Right. And then the sobriety side, it doesn't matter if it's alcohol, pills, whatever.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
What do you say to those to like you said, just to stop? Any tips, tricks, just to help somebody listening who might be dealing with that or battling with it?
It's different for everybody. I was blessed enough to just decide one day I didn't want to do that anymore, and I kind of just did it cold turkey. I know that there's special programs out there, such like AA for some people. Sometimes church works for some people. It's not for everybody. There's other things that you can do. But one thing I did do in my first 6 months was hot yoga. That really helped me. I sweated all of the yuckiness out of me, and definitely journaling, therapy, any of those things that you need to get out of the way to clear your pathway, because you don't want that in the way of your career. You definitely want to be strong, but you also don't want to act like nothing's ever happened to you. Because those things will come up. They are going to come up if somebody rubs you the wrong way, or if somebody says something to you the wrong way. Those things are going to come out of you in a work environment, and that's not where you want them to be. You don't want people to remember you like that. So getting your life straight before you get into your career field, and so that you're able to focus on your life at hand. Yeah. I think it's really important. It is very tough. And I'm not sitting here saying that, I figured it all out, because I still struggle with that too. I struggle, like I explained to you guys, I struggle asking for help, even though I know it's there. It's like, I can be stubborn, and not all of us are willing to admit those kinds of things. Like, I could do
it. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. What would you say is the biggest misconception about what you do? Like, let's say you're at a dinner party and somebody asks, Sheree, what do you do for work? And you tell them, I'm a mechanic for Moulton Niguel, and they go, well, okay, what do you think they think that you do?
I think that, well, I guess I feel this more when I mention that I'm a truck driver, because that's kind of like where I lead at first. It's like, they think I just drive the truck and I dump it. That's That's all I do. It's so easy. Why don't you just take it to the dump? It's not that easy. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going through my head. I have to stay focused. I mean, we're talking about 40 feet of trailer up in the air, sitting on one axle full of 60,000 pounds of weight. Not, the most grown men were scared to do this thing. And I was like, I'll do it. But just thinking about it in that aspect, it's really hard to explain that to somebody at a dinner party on what I do, because then if you don't know the wastewater industry, you have no idea what I'm talking about. You don't know that I just got, splashed in the face with sludge last week and I've got a upset tummy, or there's a lot that goes into it, or the fact that I need to know formulas and math formulas and all this math that's behind it, because if I open this line, I need to know what kind of pressure head is coming out of this line, so I don't hurt myself or the people around me. So there's a lot that's misconception, or it's maybe we're just like, we look like Bob the Builder, but there's a lot that goes into it. It's very important you take a step back and be careful, because the stuff that you are working with is bigger than you. It's going to win every time. It's stronger than you. And it could definitely, there's a lot of things that could happen and go wrong. So just, again, go slow.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's say you're commissioned to put up a billboard, and this billboard is in the most trafficked area that Moulton Niguel, the district, covers. What ask of your community in regards to, let's say trucks, like trucks on the road? What ask of your community would you have in regards to trucks on the road?
Oh, trucks on the road, stay out of the truck lane.
Okay.
There's the two truck lanes are designed for the trucks for a reason. Sometimes I'm a bit particular about how I drive the truck lanes. I never drive the hammer lane. I follow the rules all of the time. I know
the hammer lane,
that would be like the third lane in, and sometimes not so fun truck drivers are getting in that lane to pass other trucks to get ahead.
Understood.
I have always thought that, me first. I would like to, you're not always me first. Time begins when we get there. We're all going to be stuck in traffic at some point. You getting ahead of me on a big truck is not going to make the truck go faster or the traffic get better. So I wish I could, tailor a billboard to say, like, time begins when we get there. Everybody kind of slow down. And when you get into the trucking industry, you're all of a sudden sitting in a bunch of traffic and you wonder how you got there. You're going to get home. I promise you. This all goes back to like safety, making sure that you're getting home on time, learning to be conditioned to the time on the road. So it would be something like that. Time begins when you get there. Gotcha.
All right. I'm coming to town and I text you ahead of time. I say, Sheree, where can I go to get the best burger in the Moulton Niguel Water District area? Where are you sending me?
Oh, this is totally cliche, Cali girl, and I'm gonna go with In-N-Out. I know.
Come on, Cher.
I am not a burger girl, man. It's not my thing.
What do you eat? I'm just going for lunch.
Okay, so my hottest spot right now is Baja Fish Tacos, and that's going to be off Crown Valley and Niguel.
What city is this?
This is Laguna Niguel. It's Baja Fish Tacos. We all tend to go there. I see other guys there when we go there. Sometimes we go as a group if we're doing some sort of team building situation.
Team building,
team building. But I do know that there's good parking for trucks in the back, so that's important too. For bigger equipment, can you pull in there and pull back out when you want to get lunch? But this place is awesome. They've got good people working there, and the fish bowl is my favorite.
Okay. All right, Sheree. Well, thank you for hopping on the podcast today. Thank you for sharing your wealth of information and knowledge with us. To all the listeners out there, make sure you share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. Sheree, any final words before we get out of here?
A quote of inspiration?
Oh, yes. Yes, I leave a space in the show for you to thank mentors that you had along your journey. And then I also want you to leave a word of inspiration and motivation to your industry counterparts. Sorry.
Gotcha. Definitely the people I want to thank are Gene Johnson. He owns LRJ Engineering out of Fontana. He gave me a lot of insight and learning lessons. If it wasn't for him, I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at. And Bill Paddock, which is my current supervisor, he took a chance on me, and he still works with me daily on developing myself in the field. So those two people are my mentors for sure. And
Yeah, what do you say to those mechanics out there? They're fighting the same battles you're fighting. They're in the trenches with you. What do you say to keep them motivated, keep them inspired?
Oh, keep you inspired. Definitely. Okay. There's one quote that I was thinking about is, it's one of my favorite quotes, and it's by Abraham Lincoln. I walk slowly, but never walk backwards. So if something is not for you, or maybe you applied to a position and you didn't get it and you were let down, and you start to think, what's wrong with me? Don't spend too much time doing that, getting down on yourself about that position not working out. There's a reason it didn't work out for you. Maybe you weren't ready. Maybe it was for somebody else at that time. But definitely keep moving forward. Just don't go backwards, and the right place will find you.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, Sheree, once again, thanks for hopping on the podcast today. To all the listeners, share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. Any final words before we get out of here?
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I had a blast. Thank you.
All right, sure. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.